I had a bit of an accident first day on my XP Trike, so do not try to squeeze it into 32-inch doorways. At the rear fenders is just under 30 inches. This is a 30-inch door, but the frame is just a little over 29 inches. See, the door is right at 30. So you obviously can't just roll it through because the fenders are too wide. The rear axle's too wide. So what I did is that I folded the trike, popped it up onto its rear wheels, and tried carrying it through sideways. And I was able to carry it through sideways. But in doing that, I accidentally clipped one of the lights on the sidewalk on the cement and broke off the cover. Luckily, it looks like it'll snap back in with a little bit of silicone sealant, and I should be able to repair it. But one of the wires did come undone, unwelded on the little control board for the lights. So what is that affecting? Let's take a look. Turn on the battery, turn on the bike. With the bike on, if you tap the brakes, you can see two LEDs come on here, two LEDs come on the right one that broke off. But to turn on the lights, you hold the plus button. When I turn on the lights for riding at night, I'm only seeing one LED come on this side. You see the center one, but the right does not come on. It only comes on with the brakes. So I imagine that's the wire that broke off. Now I'm gonna try to make contact with the circuit and see if I can get that light to come on. So if I touch that pad where it's unwelded, it comes on. These wires are tiny though, so it's gonna be tricky to weld it. I'm gonna do my best. I think I've got the right soldering iron for this, but I'm gonna have to use a magnifying glass, I think. We'll see how it goes. Turn the bike off so there's no energy flowing to this when I solder. Here we go. A few of the steps I'm taking to prepare to try to solder that tiny little wire. I unplugged the connector going to this rear light to give me a little bit more slack on this wire, and I pulled a tiny bit of the wire further through this plastic housing so I could have a little bit more room to work. And I'm using a magnifying glass, which I doubt the camera will be able to see through, but I'm aligning the wire right on top of the solder point before I take the solder to it. I'm also thinking of taping around the point that I'm trying to attack so I don't accidentally unweld these capacitors. Man, there's some tiny little capacitors on this circuit. It's gonna be tricky to not do any damage, but we'll see how it goes. I think we have a good solder joint. Yep, it looks like the solder is nice, clean, and flowed well onto that tip. Put the connector back on. There we go. Connector's back on. Let's see if we can get that light to come back on. Battery on. Bike on. Lights on. Got light here, and yes, light here. And with the brakes, let's make sure the brakes also work. The brakes should get brighter. Oh yeah. Now let's see if I can assemble it without damaging the wiring. I'm also going to add a dab of hot glue across the lighting terminals to provide a sort of strain relief. So as I manipulate it, the solder joints don't come undone. Yeah, so I just put some hot glue across the joints there. Feels like the hot glue is fully solidified. Now as I turn this, I'm going to try to provide some bend to that wiring. Now I'm going to put a bead of silicone around the edge and tape the lens on top of it while the silicone cures. Alright, let's get this lens on. So I can see how the board has a gap between the lens and the back. There we go. It seems to just kind of snap into place once you get it right. Tape it down, tape it down, tape it down until that sealant secures. All right, I'm happy with that. I think this is gonna work well. And next time I won't be such an idiot. Yep, brake is working. Light is working. Good to go. If you find this type of content useful, please consider subscribing and hit that like button to be notified of future content.